This guy's not paying any attention. Thanks, guy. um, so, what is happening here? And now we're just kind of stuck behind this guy.
I don't know if you saw it, but he just completely cut us off from the sidewalk. Like, he did a little turnaround on the sidewalk.
And now he's driving at like 5 miles an hour?
Cut us off, and now he's just, yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
I don't have anything to talk about this morning. Do you want to have a meeting?
Right now?
No, at 3.
That's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of meetings, but...
Oh, really? You don't like meetings?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Do you like meetings? What do we have to meet about?
The train on Tuesday?
I like to use this word train because I wrote this article about this company called Medtronic, who they came up with this thing called train schedules. I won't go into the whole in-depth thing of a train schedule, but basically they weren't like getting anything done there, and so they forced everybody to like on these train schedules where they were going to just keep releasing something. They didn't know what they would release, but they would come up with a train schedule to just start releasing stuff. And so we kind of adopted this idea of kind of creating momentum at the company with train schedules. And so we have these train meetings, and they're a little like sprints, except they don't really follow. They're more of like a release schedule. So like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, we decide we're going to release a bunch of stuff. So we also bumped into this kind of thing where like, we don't know if the right train schedule is 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Or even 4 weeks.
Maybe even 4 weeks, maybe even longer. It could be even shorter. We used to do 3 features every 3 weeks for announcements, but I don't know. We switched it to like kind of like 2 features every 2 weeks. We just did that because it seemed like we had a bunch of stuff in the hopper that we were able to like get a bunch of stuff done quicker. But I don't know. So we were sending out like a more frequent email, and I'm not quite sure it has like done great things for us. And I don't know why. Maybe I have a suspicion when somebody gets an email and they only see us having done 2 things versus how they used to get an email every 3 weeks and have us do at least 3 things, sometimes 4 things on that thing, even more. I feel like maybe they think we're not doing as much. Possible. I also think that the 2-week schedule has made us a little bit more frantic sometimes. Like maybe we'll feel a little bit more comfortable with 3 weeks again. 2 weeks, it's felt like too many deadlines. Oh, I know what I need to work on.
What?
Super important. So yesterday, I got an email from a guy I've been kind of not hounding. I've sent him 3 emails, but it always feels like hounding. I don't really like emailing people over and over again because I usually am the type of person who like, they got the email. I don't usually like sending an email that's just like, oh, did you get my previous email? They did. They just don't want to reply to you. So, but I do. Like, it's crazy how important it is to still follow up. So I have emailed this person 3 times, and he finally replied. And he is a editor at a magazine. I won't share it now. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but I finally got a hold of him, and it is a magazine I would love to write for. And so I'm finally in contact with him. So I have to get a draft of an article to him. Probably I should try to get it to him this week or as soon as possible. Anyway, so I got to get this article out. Lynette found this really interesting article about Jason Day. He's like #1. Jason Day is like the leading golf PGA star these days. And he had this really interesting article in the Wall Street Journal about how he uses visualization. What got me more interested is not so much that he visualizes. Like he got some tips from like Tiger Woods to visualize your shot. And like I think a lot of people who know about Michael Jordan realize he was like a really big fan of like visualization. But what got my attention was the fact that like Jason Day he looks drunk out there. He even says it. Like he closes his eyes in the middle of his round. You know, he just kind of walks around like with his eyes half closed. It's because he's closing his eyes and he's thinking about his next shot. He's visualizing it. And he stopped doing it. And he stopped doing it because he was embarrassed, it sounds like, about looking half drunk. And so something that he thought was kind of important, he stopped doing merely because of what it looked like to other people, which I found kind of shocking. And when he kind of stopped worrying about what other people thought, now he's back doing it, and his game has improved a lot. So I don't know, there's this like thread of like worrying about what other people think. Even filming, like, this is the first time I've taken this camera and started filming this thing in a car. And I was thinking about doing it weeks ago, and I found myself yesterday thinking about doing it, and then I was like, you know what, I don't want to do it because it's going to look silly for me to talk to a camera in public. That's kind of crazy, especially if this is like a useful thing that people enjoy, and here I am worrying about what it looks like. But okay, so usually when I write an article, I like to piece a bunch of different things together that you might not expect would go together. Maybe it's like I read an article about Frankenstein and stealing cars. You wouldn't read that anywhere else, so that's kind of interesting to me. So this article, I'm not quite sure. We've got the Jason Day angle, which I really like. He's a golfer. But now I don't know exactly what to marry it to. Another thing I've been trying to do a lot of is kind of like get more into pop culture. And Jason Day is like a famous golfer, but he's not exactly like, I can't exactly put a photo up of Jason Day and like, I think attract a lot of people to it. I don't think anybody's going to know who this guy is with a golf hat on. So I don't know, maybe there's something else about this. I was actually reading about Richard Feynman. He's got a book called, like, What Do You Care What Other People Think?
Didn't you also have another example, though, of someone?
Wilt Chamberlain. That's who I think the name I was trying to get. A famous basketball player, who I think is, like, the top scoring basketball player of all time. Like, he scored 100 points in a game once. I mean, granted, things were a little bit different, but, like, he dominated the sport decades ago. Wilt Chamberlain. But I guess he was a terrible free throw shooter. And so much so that, I mean, yeah, like that was kind of like the limiting agent to his game. People, he would just be on the free throw line and he'd miss shots until he adopted a granny style way of shooting, right? It's called the granny shot, where you put your hands between your legs and you kind of like basket toss the ball up into the basket. Well, he became extremely effective at this, and there's a guy even who like says this is the best way to shoot free throws. Like there's like, your stronger muscles in play, there's a lot less that can go wrong during the shot, and if more people went to the granny toss, their percentages would go up. But nobody does it. Wilt Chamberlain stopped doing it, again, not because like it wasn't working. It was working. He stopped doing it because he was embarrassed. He stopped doing it because of the way it looked or was perceived, or what it might mean, he thought, in front of other people. I mean, it's called the granny shot. It's right. That's what 7 foot tall basketball player wants to be associated with something called a granny shot. That's, so he stopped doing it, and it was a detriment to his game that he stopped. Any thoughts about this article?
No, I just have to drive.
She's driving, so can't really make her do a ton of stuff.
It's crazy here.
Yeah, we're in this really strange, crazy intersection. Ogden, Chicago, and Milwaukee. There's like these 3 streets, and there's like a bike lane right here, and there's cars that turn in front of each other. I don't know if you can even see all this stuff. It's nuts. There's a turn lane, but there's a bike lane right next to the turn lane, and cars will still try to turn from the other lane into the bike lane, back into the turn lane, and I swear, every day we come down this way, I think someone's going to die. And it's probably going to be a biker, even though they're in a bike lane and trying to obey, the laws.
Sort of trying to obey the laws.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the bikers are all that innocent in this situation at this intersection either. It's just crazy.
Moment, but like Dollar Shave Club, it's kind of interesting just because, they went way out of the norm in terms of thinking of how to advertise and what to do, and that definitely caught some attention.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder, that's kind of interesting. So the CEO of Dollar Shave Club did a very viral video that blew up Dollar Shave Club, and I wonder if he was like initially worried about being embarrassed. That'd be kind of interesting, because I have a feeling he might have been. But maybe not, and maybe that's, the CEO put himself on camera, they made that crazy-ass video, and it spread like nuts. And I have a feeling maybe he did have, like, second thoughts about doing that it wasn't professional or something.
Well, and wasn't their second one about poop?
Their second one was about poop.
So that's even crazier.
We go down this alley to get to work, and it's very similar to that bike lane situation. It's almost impossible to get down the road. All
Half
right.
the time we come and there's a giant truck in the way.
And, all right, we are going into the garage. See ya later.